You know who I am. You know where to find me. Let's get into it. Now, this is going to be a little different from all the other videos I have been making recently. I am going right back to it, but if you have been following along, you know that I was out of town for a few days. It's my birthday week. My birthday's coming up in less than 6 days. I'm just trying to survive here, okay? Now, the reason why I said that this is a different video is because I have a lot of feelings that I want to get out of my chest in our observations about things that we have been talking about up to a point, and I wanted to see how you guys were feeling about certain things. Now, we're going to start with Twitter. Now, I don't know when it happened, to be honest with you. Let me be very careful how I phrase this, because this is not an attack on Twitter necessarily. It's more of an attack on humans themselves, because Twitter was already a dumpster fire before Elon took over. Okay, let's not try to make it into this wonderful place, because it never was. Well, actually, no, it was in the beginning. It was pretty good in the beginning, and there are certain good things about Twitter. Unfortunately, in the last, I want to say, year before Elon took over, and then after he took over, a certain element of scumbaggery started taking over. I have two accounts on Twitter, one for this channel and one for my other channel, for Aviddiva. And if it's in English or Spanish, Metamorphosis is on this side, and then Aviddiva has Aviddiva in 1321. So how do I even get there? The thing about it is that the way I had curated Aviddiva, I didn't see any of the bad stuff on that account. It is a very positive experience until Elon took over. Metamorphosis Rocks, on the other hand, because of the nature of the information that I search, because I do a lot of content based on what I see trending on Twitter or what I see my friends relating to or commenting on. And because of that, the content was always not as great. But I had managed to block every single news station from CNN all the way to Fox. And I do mean every single one of them. Every time one would pop up that was like an affiliate, I would absolutely block it, because I didn't want any fake news or real news. I didn't want news on my feed that were not provided by the source. And what I mean by that is, we always think that news stations are giving us real news. The reality is that they're giving us a version of the news. They're no better than drama channels, because they're just giving us their curated version of what happened. If you want to know what really happened, and technically that's not even the truth, you go to the source. Meaning, if something happened with Donald Trump, you need to go and search what Donald Trump said. If you want to know what the government is doing currently, then you have to go and look at Joe Biden's account or Joe Biden on record or whatever. Reality doesn't exist. There is only a version of reality, and that's fine. I'm aware of that. The reason why I'm bringing all of this up is because, like I said, I had been gone for a few days. I was on holiday. Here's the thing. And there is a point to this, okay? And it's coming. When you're always on a particular website or surrounded by a particular group of people or whatever your experience is, you don't think it's that bad. Like if you're on a job and the job is horrible, but there comes a point where you become desensitized to how bad your job really is. And yes, I know I butchered the word. The same is true for your surroundings in general. Like when I go to a different country, the reason why I go to a different country is because we're not the center of the world as much as we think we are. When I go to a different state, it's because I want to see how other people live their life, because clearly I'm not happy with the way Florida lives its life. So the same is true for your social media platforms and what your preferences are. As much as I'm moving away from Twitter in terms of hanging out for more than 5 minutes at a time, The reality is that in the last 5 or 6 days before I went on vacation, I have been feeling like, it's not that bad. I've finally hit some sort of algorithm that is only showing me what I want to see. And for the most part, unless I go to trending topics, I don't see anything I don't want to see or that doesn't upset me as much. Then I went on this trip. And when I got back, I had friends that had been attacked on social media left and right. I saw all kinds of shenanigans that were like annoying at best and just downright insulting, offensive, and horrible at worst. And so it started this conscious decision for me to see why it didn't bother me before, but as soon as I got back after spending 3 or 4 days out of it, why it bothered me so much. And we go back to that word that I can't say, so I'm going to butcher it again, desensitize. Oh, I said it right this time. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is this. We have become desensitized to a lot of things. And I'm going to give you examples of my own life, but I want you to be honest with yourself as I'm telling you the examples I'm going to give you if you have been through similar or you are feeling the way I'm beginning to feel right now. When the panini first happened, there was a lot of people that really soured my idea of politicians and celebrities and whatnot. Two examples come to mind immediately. The first one was the president at the time who said, if we lose 100,000 people, then that's no big deal. Okay. The second one was Dr. Oz. And for those of you who don't know, until about 3 years before this happened, so that would be 2017, I was a fairly good fan of Dr. Oz. I had all his books. I watched the show not every day because I don't watch anything every day, but I watched the show often and I liked them. Then, life got in the way and I stopped watching as much. For one thing, my dad got sick and died, and then I had to take care of my mom, and that kind of kept me away from watching this person as closely. So when in 2020 he decided to say that we shouldn't close anything, and if kids died because of the panini, that was the price we had to pay for our liberty, because that's what he said, it soured me on Dr. Oz to a very, very grave extreme, because how can you say that it's okay for people to lose their children? You're a doctor. That blew my mind right then and there. I have learned, it's funny because somebody somewhere said something to the effect that as you get, the older you get, the more you become disappointed with your heroes or some crap like that. I have pretty much lost every single person I ever was a fan of, starting with Donald Trump and Dr. Oz and Dr. Phil and Oprah Winfrey, and down the line, Jeff Bezos, pretty much everybody that I actually liked, I've stopped liking. But I realized how desensitized I have become to all this hate that people are spreading based on their political and religious beliefs when I got back on Twitter recently in the last 2 or 3 days. And somebody said something to the effect of, well, actually, it's not that they said it, it was that they were celebrating it. Somebody said something to the effect of Elon Musk broke Twitter, but Twitter broke him. And I thought that was a great line because I was thinking financially. I was not thinking they were talking about the man himself. Come to find out that there was a wellness check done on him because apparently he had locked himself in his office to the point where his employees were scared and they called the police to check on him. Because apparently he had yet another mental health episode. This is not the first time he has one, by the way. When I used to care, I know that he had one 4 or 5 years ago. I don't remember what the year was, but it coincided when he started turning from fake left to right. And the fact that people were celebrating that this man was having a mental health crisis really shocked me. But then I started thinking about my own observations about certain situations and whether or not I care about them. By the way, I'm not judging people who don't care. I'm judging us as a collective of people that have allowed religious beliefs and politics to make us a hateful earth experiment. There's 8 billion of us, and at least 3 billion of us are hateful people. Let me show you some examples. I'm a big fan of true crime, and lately I will only watch true crime through YouTube. I don't want to watch big networks because I think it's funny that people come and bash true crime community creators for the same thing that they have no problem watching TV or paying for Netflix, etc. So here's the thing. These are some examples of things I've been going through lately, and it bothers me. So I'm going to be as honest as I possibly can as in my visceral reaction to these things. There was a crime committed not too long ago where a husband allegedly killed his wife and his son. A very powerful white family from, I want to say North Carolina, but I'm not sure. And based on what I saw about the lady and her husband and their children, I just sat there like, oh, white on white crime, whatever. I was more concerned by the fact that not the nanny, the maid was killed, as opposed to had died of an accident. That bothered me. There was a young man who was killed supposedly accidentally, but somehow the situation was attached to this crime. That bothered me. There was a young lady that was on a boat with one of the sons, and there was an accident, and unfortunately she died as a consequence of the misbehavior of one of the sons. That bothered me. But the wife and the son that were killed didn't bother me. I don't know how you believe, what you believe in, or how you were raised, or whatever. I was raised in a world where every single person mattered, where the words Black Lives Matter don't have to be said or believed because they are, period. And, that whole saying, well, until Black Lives Matter, nobody matters. In my little world where I was born and raised, we didn't have to make that specification because we believed everybody mattered. I am befuddled by the fact that in the last 4 years, I have noticed that I care a lot less if the person is rich and if the person is white and heterosexual. If the person is any kind of marginalized community, all of a sudden I do care. If the person is not rich, then I care. But other than that, I don't. Another example that I'm going to give you, and I'm not going to give you my specific example, I'm just going to name things and you know where you fall. When people started dying because of the panini, people's reactions were based on whether people were masking or not masking. If you had the vaccine or you didn't have the vaccine. And if you're honest with yourself, you know this is true. If the person had the vaccine and you don't believe in vaccines, you were like, well, that's the vaccine for you. If the person didn't have the vaccine, had the Rona, and passed away, well, nobody told them not to pay attention to. See where I'm going with this? We all had a reaction based on whether or not they had the vaccine and whether or not we cared about the vaccine. I want to say since 2016, I've seen this grow more and more. And what's sad to me is that even though that was the hate people were dealing with and they were hateful and their religious beliefs were getting in the way and whatnot, I have seen the actual seeping of that hate on reactions that I have to different things. That never happened before. You know, when we had the AIDS pandemic, when AIDS first came to the United States and Puerto Rico, obviously because I was in Puerto Rico, I didn't care who the person was. If the person died, it was a sad moment. Period. I don't feel that way anymore. And you know, I'm trying to force myself to remember that at the end of the day, there's a life and there's a person. Because as recently as Maria, 2017, I believe, was Hurricane Maria. I remember millionaires who lost their houses in Puerto Rico. I remember watching the video of the little mansion in the mountain, and then the earth underneath started to fall, and so did the house. And my heart broke for those people. And people will tell me, well, they're rich, what does it matter? And I will be there like, you know, I don't care how much money you have, you just lost all your pictures, all your mementos, all everything you've ever collected in your life just disappeared and was swept away by a hurricane. And I didn't care that the person was a millionaire. Fast forward 6 years later, if that happened today, I don't know if I would care. I don't. And it's not like I hate rich people, because I know a lot of people that happen to be very well off financially. It's a thing that they have to have certain conditions. It's not just rich, it's not just white, it's not just hetero. They have to have certain religious and political beliefs for me to not give a damn. And I'm not saying that I don't care for anybody that's not a Republican, because I'm married to one. I'm not saying that that I necessarily don't have a heart for certain people that I've seen come from nothing and become big people. I'm saying that I can see how my level of caring changes based on who the person is, based on whether or not they're a Trump supporter, based on whether or not they're a Christian. There's a reason why there's an expression, there's no hate like Christian love. That's an expression for a reason. And so I'm sitting here and I was trying to figure out if I was going to make a video today or not. Because here's what happens. I've gotten used to posting 2 videos a week, and I like that beat. But I know for a fact that if I post this video tomorrow, it's not the same. I'm going to lose track. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to post this one today. I'm not going to post it on Patreon. Sorry, patrons. I'm just going to post it as soon as I edit it. But I want you to sit down and think for yourself. Not because I'm telling you to. Not because I gave you 2 examples. I want you to sit down and wonder if, and by the way, yes, this video has awful sound because I just realized the microphone's not on. I want you to sit down and think for a minute whether or not you are noticing that your level of caring and of empathy has changed based on what's going on around you. Because I don't like it. I honestly don't like it. I've always been the kind of person that doesn't give a damn who needs help. If they need help, they should get it. And the funny thing is that I remember getting in a lot of trouble, for example, when a person that I don't like got doxxed and their entire family got doxxed. It was on a video, and I asked everybody and their mother to report it. And we did get it down, by the way. Just because we're a small community doesn't mean that we don't get around. We did get it down, and 2 things happened. Number one, people started bashing me for, well, you're posting the video so you're getting more views on it. And I was like, I'm trying to get people to report it. They have to actually go to the video to report it. Number 2, the person in question actually accused me of being behind the doxing. And when they received proof to the contrary, and by the way, they found out who the person was who doxed them way before I ever did. they decided to keep on going with the narrative that I had something to do with it. Now, back then, that didn't deter me, and I didn't until too recently. I want to say 2 3 weeks ago. I if somebody was being doxxed, I would have reported immediately. But right now, I have to be honest with you. I don't know what I would do if it's somebody that I don't care about or somebody that's actively campaigning to get me out of social media, because the reality is that I don't want to go through that again, and I don't see why I have to. A lot of people see a lot of things on social media every day. I'm not the only one. I'm tired of being the one who's always the voice of reason and the logical one and the one who cares about everything and everyone. At the same time, I'm upset at myself for making the distinction between rich people, poor people, Christians, non-Christians, and whatnot. And that takes me to the spot where I am right now, which is, what do I do now? Because I used to care and now I don't care. Now, do I not care about anybody, or do I not care about certain specific people? And the answer is, I don't know how I feel right now. Because discovering that I've allowed that hate, even if it's a little bit seep into my thinking, it's really bothering me. But there's only two solutions. Either I find a way of caring for everybody again, or I stop caring about everybody. Now, I don't know that a lot of people are going to be honest with you about that particular aspect of the situation, but I can't wait to see what you guys think about it. And even though my patrons are not going to get to see this video before you guys do, I can't, I have to thank them, because, I don't have a lot of patrons anymore. That's hopefully going to change in the next year, but I do like to post the videos to them first. And if it wasn't for them, probably wouldn't be here anymore, because, it's a very tiny amount of money that I get from Patreon right now, but at times it has been a lot better. And the reality is that some of the people on Patreon are the most incredible people you'll ever meet, and they all of them have kept on going with me through thick and thin. So, yeah, thank you, my patrons. Let me know how you feel about this, and thank you very much for watching. Bye.